All right. Now, we know that we need to observe things very carefully in order to avoid to mix facts and interpretation. Okay? Now, we also know that questions are very important to conduct a research. A study without question is nonsense. And we also know the main features of a good scientific question. This question is clear, is objective, can be answered, and makes our knowledge advance. Okay? Ok? O som está esquisito. Better? Okay. Okay. Now, welcome to the wonderful world of the hypothesis. Now, we are going to learn what is a hypothesis-driven study. Yeah! Okay. We can, I really don't want to go into details and provide a very true explanation about what a hypothesis is. I think it's much easier to understand a hypothesis as a possible answer to a scientific question or a testable explanation for a phenomenon, whatever phenomenon you want to answer a question. Okay. And it's very funny because many people accept that, okay, asking question or thinking about questions, it's not so hard. I can do that. Perhaps my question is not original. Perhaps my question is not advanced so much our knowledge, but I can do this. However, when I ask people, you have a very nice question, but this kind of question requires or can be followed by a hypothesis. Can you think about this? And in general, people think that hypotheses demand much more brain capacity. Oh, no. It's beyond my intellectual capacity. So, my experience is we need to train our brain to think about hypotheses. And if you are well trained, you will realize that this is not a big deal. In fact, it's much more fun because you not only think about a question, but you also have expectations. And these expectations will guide, perhaps you guide your methods or the way you think in a much clearer way when compared to a general question that you simply don't know where to go. Okay, and now I'm gonna show you a video, and I love it. It was extracted from a TED Talk, and it is about a scientist, an American scientist, and she studies how hypotheses, children think about hypotheses, okay? I don't know if you had sound in the video, but I don't want. I want to play David Attenborough. Okay, let's go. Okay. Now we are going to watch a children. Okay. This researcher, she's from University of Texas at Austin, and she is working with 6-year-old boy. I guess I need to...
detectors, and what she did was show children that yellow ones made it go and red ones didn't,
okay.
And then she showed them on an anomaly. And what you'll see is that this little boy will go through 5 hypotheses in the space of 2
The idea
minutes.
here is to place these pieces here and organize them in order to a light work here. And when the guy
Okay,
puts
so
these
he's
two
just, his
pieces,
first hypothesis has
pink
just been
and
falsified.
yellow here, the light immediately is on. But it's a joke. The researcher is able to do that.
This one
And then he thinks, okay, I will do the same
got
thing on
experiment
the other
info,
side,
yeah.
and it works. First hypothesis. Then he switches. He puts the yellow below and the pink above. Now, I have already saw these faces with my students when their hypothesis is rejected.
Every scientist will recognize that expression of despair, right?
Can you see the brain working? I can.
Oh, it's because this should be like
If you watch this video, you will see that this guy is very,
Okay,
very
I
verbal.
got this too.
So he explaining to her every time what he's trying. Now he will bite the nails.
Now this is his next idea. He tells the experiment to do this, to try and put it out over on the other
completely
location.
different thing. And then when he do that, the lights on.
Not working either.
oh, because
Okay.
the light goes only to here.
No, the
not
first
here.
one was not right. So he said, okay,
The bottom
if I
of
put
this box has
this box
electricity
with light
here, but
on this
one
one
has
without light, he will transmit the
That's the
light
fourth
to this one.
hypothesis.
It's lighting up.
And he explaining his rationale throughout the entire experiment. So it's very nice.
So we need to put
Okay,
4 on
we
this
can
one
skip
to
now
make
the
it light
video.
up and 2 on this one.
I really invite you to see this video because it's nice. And this video shows that children, 6-year-old children, are able to formulate a lot of hypotheses and explain this hypothesis. As we are going to see after the hypothesis class, this guy is not working the proper framework to elaborate the hypothesis, but he is providing possible answers to a question. How can I make both lights on? Okay? Now, I am going to ask you to formulate a hypothesis. This is my friend, and she is stuck at Marginal Tietê, poor her, and her car doesn't work. And she grabbed her phone and phoned you, who are also her friend. And he asked, why doesn't the car work? Please, can you help her?
No gas.
No gas, no fuel. Okay. What else? Okay, the battery is died. Well, I had a hypothesis that you would say this one. And my hypothesis was corroborated. The first hypothesis is the car doesn't work because the fuel has run out. And the second hypothesis, the car doesn't work because the battery died. In the same order. This is the 50th time I teach this course. So I have great predictive power. Okay. If I ask you, why did you provide these two hypotheses? Probably you will ask that, okay, every time I experience this situation, or people I know experienced this situation, these two hypotheses were the best explanations, okay? We are going to see later, perhaps tomorrow, I don't know, depending on the time, that this kind of thinking that you probably use it to formulate these two hypotheses is called inductive logic. It's based on your previous experience, okay? It's not based on theory. You may have no theory at all, but you can provide these two hypotheses, formulate these two hypotheses, okay? I said this because my previous experience showed that these are the most common situations when the car is not working. No theory. But I can also frame or can also propose these two hypotheses based on theory, okay? And if you think this is hard, I'm going to show you that this is possible. Okay, how did you figure out these two hypotheses? One is the inductive logic. Now I'm going to show you a different kind of logic. I can guarantee I am completely stupid about engineering. But I have a very basic knowledge on how a motor works, okay? I know that this motor requires fuel, unless it is an electric car, but even in these electric cars, it demands electricity. I am assuming that my friend has non-electric car. So the car demands fuel. Okay. And this fuel is bombed inside a piston, and there is a spark that is promoted by a battery, and this start makes the fuel explode, and these explosions move the pistons up and down, and these up and down movements make the motor run, and the car works. I swear, this is all I know about how a car or a motor works. I swear. If you ask me what is a carburador, I don't have any idea. Okay. So, based on my theory, which is very rude, very basic, based on my theory on how an engine works, I can reach, or I can formulate the same two hypotheses. Because if there is no fuel, the work doesn't work. The motor doesn't work. Okay? Based on theory, not my previous experience. And if the battery is died, there is no spark. So the fuel doesn't explode. Can you see the difference? In the first one, you answer based on your own experience. There was no theory. Now, I went to the theory, and I learned a little bit about this theory. And based on this theory, I deduced two possible hypotheses. This is a completely different way of thinking. And we are going to talk more about this. Because I know that at first it might seem weird and difficult. Okay. A very important thing here is that hypotheses are different from opinions. We have already said this, okay? And what's the main difference? Well, hypotheses are logical arguments, while opinions are just opinions. You don't need to support this with facts, assumptions, whatever. So, the logical argument that I can use to formulate the two hypotheses I showed is, given that the engine requires fuel and sparks produced by a battery to work. These are facts? Yes. These are facts, okay? Nobody can take it from us. These are facts. Okay. The engine of my car is not working, or the engine of my friend is not working. This is a fact. She tried, and it's not working, okay? So it's also a fact. Thus, the fuel must have run out or the battery died. So what we have here? This is the structure of a logical argument. A fact, and a conclusion that derives from the facts. Can you see the logical connection between these things? This is what a car needs to work. The car is not working. These things are probably the cause of the problem. Okay? This is the logical structure of an argument. And hypotheses have the same logical structure that we are seeing here. So we could formulate our hypothesis about the car in this format. When I showed this format, I'm just to present the conclusion of my logical argument, not the facts or the assumptions that support my conclusion, okay? Okay, are you with me? Marvelous. Okay. We call these facts that support my conclusion premises, okay? This is the general term that we use to classify this sentence that lead me to a given conclusion or lead me to my hypothesis. These are my premises. Okay, and this is the conclusion. If you read papers or if you read projects, even when they have hypotheses, it is very, very common that people state only the conclusion and the premise are not clearly stated. So you ask yourself, okay, the hypothesis seems reasonable, but I really can't understand what supports the hypothesis. What is this? What people, the editors or the reviewers say, what is the background that supports this hypothesis? When they are asking for a background, they are asking, in fact, for the theory and the premise that are supporting your hypothesis, okay? So, third message, very important. Hypotheses have the logical structure of arguments. It might seem obvious, but it's not. And I really hope you can understand it, you can embrace it, and if you do that, I will be so happy, so happy. Okay. I am talking about the structure of logical arguments, but I'm sure that even if you did some class on scientific logic or scientific method, I am sure that you don't know this. At least you don't know this well or sufficiently well to work your knowledge and apply it to build or to formulate good hypotheses, okay? So, please, forget what you know, or forget you think you know, and come with me. Now, you are going to learn it, and it's very easy. This is the general structure of logical thinking. We have a rule that connects relationships of cause and effect, okay? This is the general structure. Now we have three ways of connecting these three elements. The first one is induction. And induction occurs when we know the cause and we know the effect, so we know these two parts here, and we are trying to infer the rule. What's the general rule? Okay? An example. Every time a tsunami is coming, seawater suffers an abrupt retreat. Every time it happens, a tsunami happens, this is what we see. So, what's the rule based on these two observations? Thus, tsunamis are preceded by an abrupt retreat of water. I might don't know why it happens, okay? But I live close to a very dangerous coast. And I have already seen many tsunamis. Or I am a scientist, I am studying tsunamis for many years. And I see this couple of this couple of this couple of this. And then I establish a rule. Okay, tsunamis are always preceded by abrupt retreat of seawater. I had a cause, I have an effect, and now I am inferring a rule. The cause is a tsunami. The tsunami is promoting this. This is the effect of a tsunami. And then I have the rule. Okay. Now, we have the inductive logic. This is a very important example about inductive logic. I had 4 doors. Okay, I opened the first door and I found a white ship. I opened the second door and I found a white ship. I opened the third door and I found a white ship. Now I'm going to open the fourth door. What's the color of the ship I will find behind the door? Note, I always open the door and I found a white ship. This is the same case. Every time a tsunami is coming, the water suffers an abrupt retreat. Every time I saw this cause and effect relationship, based on this observation, I infer the rule. So my rule, what's the rule can you infer here? This is based on what? On your previous experience. So, now I'm going to work the next door. What do you think is going to happen? She's mocking you. What's the message here? Please don't think I'm saying not to use inductive logic, okay? Researchers are always using inductive logic, and this is very nice. If you are seeing something repeatedly in connections, it might be a very nice question. Is this a really cause and effect relationship? And if you find this cause relationship, you can be much more secure about the rule. Now I have a rule that establishes connections of cause and effect. Okay. So the message I want to send you is inductive arguments may be strong or they may be weak. In this case, why the argument is weak? Because it's based on 3 observations. My inductive argument about the tsunamis is strong or is weak? Why? Thousands of observations spread throughout the world along many times, okay? So this is a strong. Can you use this inductive logic to formulate a hypothesis and a study? Okay, though I know that this is inductive logic, I think this is such a strong argument that I can use it in favor of my work. In this case, I would never use this argument to support my work. If I do that, there is a great chances of spending my time and spending my money in an argument that simply has no support. Okay, can you see this? Chico Science, one step ahead. Okay. The second one is abduction. I know, I won't talk about you being kidnapped by aliens, okay? Abduction occurs when we know the rule here and we know the effect, and we're trying to abduct the cause. I told you that the example about the car was an induction, but it's not true. I'm sorry. In that moment, I was trying not to confuse you, because you all know the terms deduction and induction, and I would not like to introduce a weird term called abduction. Now we are more used to these terms, and I'm going to show you that the example on the car is abduction. Why? The engine requires fuel and sparks produced by a battery to work. This is the rule, right? Can you see? This is, without this, the car doesn't work. The engine of my car is not working. My friend is calling you. What the hell, my car is not working. Now, we can abduct the cause, which might be the fuel must have run out or the battery died. Can you see this? Now you know induction and abduction. Now we are going to learn Sherlock Holmes. Deduction. Deduction occurs when you know the rule and you know the cause and you are trying to deduct the effect. Example. There is a positive relationship between area and number of species. The larger the area, the higher the number of species. This is a area richness relationship, very famous in ecology. Okay? Areas A and B are similar in many ways, but area A is larger than area B. What's the effect? Thus, the number of species in area A will be higher than in area B. Is this a logical conclusion based on this rule and this cause? Ta-da! Sherlock Holmes. Are you happy? I am. No, you're not? You're not? Do you want a hug? Sorry? No, I don't want to leave you behind. We need to go together.
Well, I don't think I'll solve my doubt now, because I kind of have a problem with the definitions of deduction, abduction, and induction in that sense. But I understand. I'll understand that as a definition, and that's fine, I think.
This is very. What's your name?
Kawi. Yes.
If you study in different books, logic books, you will find different definitions about inductive logic, deductive logic, and many books simply do not talk anything about abduction. And the definitions of induction and deduction vary between or in different places, okay? Next week, I will give a course with a friend, and this friend studied this subject in a different book. And the definition he's going to use is completely different. Completely different, okay? And what I can say here is that these definitions are not important to us. You can have a different definition. What is very important here is to understand that you have 3 different ways to read to a conclusion of an argument, okay? And sometimes you know the rule, in effect, you are trying to infer the cause. Sometimes you know the rule and the cause, you are trying to infer the effect. And no matter the name you are going to give to this kind of logical thing. The most important thing from my perspective is understand this general picture and to use it. In my study, for instance, I know this, and I want to infer this. If you know that, man, you have a very powerful way of thinking about your work. And give you the name you want, you think is more beautiful or more whatever.
Okay.
No, okay? This is not a class about scientific philosophy. I would like to be, but it will take 3 months. And I suspect that you will end up more confused than secure. This is my impression. Especially if I am the teacher. Okay. I don't know how many of you are biologists or have affinity with ecology, but let's try to think about this example. It's not so difficult. Imagine that you are in a region with intense sunlight, like a sand dune area, okay? So imagine that this soil here is sand. And we have a shrub here growing on the sand. And we have seedlings, little plants of a different species, okay? Always also growing on the soil. So here we have 2 situations. In this case, seedlings of plant A are growing under the canopy of a shrub of plant B. And here we have a seedling of the same species here, plant A, growing outside the canopy of plant B. Okay? These are the elements: intense sunlight, poor soil, and 2 situations: growing under the canopy or far from the canopy. Okay? Can we formulate hypotheses for this question? Seedlings of plant A should perform better near or far from a shrub of plant B. Now this is a group activity. You can maintain the same groups and try to think, formulate a hypothesis of two questions using deductive logic. Okay? You know, you need to know a rule. You can propose a rule. We know the effect, the cause. The seedling is below the plant or far from the plant. This is the cause. And then we need to propose the effect, the performance of the plant.
Can we go back to the question, please?
Nossa, mesmo com o microfone, é muito All right. Now it's time to know your hypothesis. Okay. Last time I asked you and you. Now we can start with you. What's your hypothesis? And I hope you listen to this question many times in your life. What's your hypothesis?
Is it working? Yeah. We said that, well, we stated that given that does something, we said that given that there is poor soil and intense sunlight, those are like facts that we know. Plants need sunlight and water to thrive. A has less transpiration when it's near B because of the shadow B provides for A. B has highest transpiration rate. A has highest transpiration rate because of size. B is more effective at sequestering nutrients and water from the soil because of the roots. So that could be beneficial for A if A is near. We said that thus A will grow more efficiently when it's near B.
Okay. There is a lot of information here. I understood that this guy, is larger, probably has a longer and more effective root system, and the plant B is a better competitor. So when this one is close to the large one, it's bad. It's better. But you also said that under the large plant, the seedling is protected from indirect sunlight. So in this case, here, if you pay attention only in competition, it's very bad to be here. But if you pay attention on sunlight, it's better to be here. So seedlings of plant A should perform better near or far away from the shrub. You presented two alternatives.
No, we actually said that it's better to be near B because like what we suppose is that the soil is very poor, and because of the root system of B, it is better at sequestering nutrients and water.
The positive effect.
So yes, that will positively affect A.
Okay, the negative effect of competition would be higher than the positive effect promoted by the shade.
No, it's because it holds water because of the root network, so it can help A, providing more water.
It's better or what?
It's better. Also, since transpiration rate depends on size, it means that the transpiration of plants when are seedlings is high. So it's better to be below B, under B, because you're not going to lose a lot of water. And maybe poor soil is not also related to nutrients, but also drainage of water. So maybe water drains a lot. It's better to not to lose that amount of water.
Okay, this hypothesis assumes that the competition for nutrients, not water, is not very important.
It's more important for water. It's more important
the
to compete for water. Yes. Okay. So the important thing here is not to lose a lot of water.
Okay. You guys, what is your hypothesis?
We consider that the rule is how much the closer the species are, higher is the competition between them. So the cause that we have is that we have an individual near the species B, and one is far from B, and the deduction is far A will have a better performance than near A.
Okay, because you are focused on competition and assuming that close to plant B, the competition is more intense. Yeah. All right. So here we have a positive effect, and there we had a negative effect, okay? I swear, I didn't know that.
Yes.
All right. So First, I will present, I also was right about the order. First, I will provide the facilitation hypothesis, which is your hypothesis. Okay, what happens? Seedlings of plant A perform better when they are protected from sunlight. So in this case, sunlight is more important for the performance of plant B, sorry. So in this case, the cause is seedlings of plant A are growing under the shade of shrub of a plant B. Okay? And so based on this rule and this cause, thus seedlings will perform better than seedlings exposed to direct sunlight. So seedlings under plant B will perform better. Okay. Why the name of this hypothesis, facilitation hypothesis? Facilitation hypothesis is an ecological relationship usually between plants in which we are focusing in only one of the partners. In these cases, we are focusing only on the seedlings, and we are forgetting about the effects of the plant B. Plant B may affect and should affect plant A to be a facilitation. But we are not interested if plant B is being performing better or worse close to plant A. Okay? So this is facilitation. The presence of plant B facilitates the occurrence of plant A because it provides shade, and in this environment the main mortality source is exposure to sun. All right? Here.
I think I'm a little bit confused about the rule, because I thought that the rule should be something with the facts, because in this case the rule seems like an effect. You are saying that the plant A perform better when they are protected from the sunlight. And I thought the rule would be something like a fact. The intense sun can burn the leaves of the plant A, and I don't know, the soil is poor, so being near the other plant could have nutrients from dead leaves, and I don't know, I got a little bit confused because I thought the rule should be something with more facts than...
You have many forms of formulate the rule, okay? What I did here was, what is facilitation? Facilitation is when one plant, the occurrence of one plant, facilitates the growth, the reproduction, whatever, of other plant. Okay? This is the definition of facilitation. So, if facilitation is the general rule, that is the process that connects relationship between cause and effects, what's the rule? When seedlings of plant A should perform better under the plant B, okay? But you can formulate this rule in different ways. As you told, it seems very nice. You cannot use, in this case, the part related to competition, okay? Because you are focusing on facilitation, okay? I'm going to show you how to formulate the hypothesis focusing on competition, okay? But it depends on the way you are telling your story. The most important thing here is, this is the cause, this is the consequence. And here I need to have in my mind a rule that connects cause and effect. Okay? And I know that the theoretical background is the facilitation hypothesis. So my rule must be related to facilitation hypothesis. This rule needs or must to reflect the concept of facilitation, okay? If your hypothesis is about facilitation, if this rule is not related to facilitation, your rule is wrong, or the theoretical background you are using is wrong. Okay? No.
So for each hypothesis, I have to have one rule. And
One?
for each hypothesis, I have to have one rule.
Rule.
Yeah. One rule.
I'm trying to think. You are trying to
Okay.
make a generalization, and I'm not prepared to give a prompt answer.
Because in this case, I think we have two factors, the sunlight and the competition.
Ah,
And
okay.
I can analyze the...
They are different, completely different rules.
Yeah,
Okay.
so in this case, I have to formulate one hypothesis for
General.
each rule, analyzing the different...
Exactly. So if I pay attention on one rule, I formulated one hypothesis. If I pay attention on another rule, I formulate a different hypothesis. And in this case, we are going to see that the hypotheses are mutually excluded. If one of them is true, the other one cannot be true.
Yep.
Because I'm asking, where is better? If here is better, here is worse. If here is better, here is worse. Okay?
Okay.
So this is the facilitation hypothesis that's more or less linked with this group here proposed, okay? Now I'm going to show you the competition hypothesis, more or less similar to what you propose. But before, I'm going to show you the logic structure of this hypothesis related to facilitation. Given that, okay, as a premise, shrubs provide shade below the canopy. Is this a fact? Yes. Okay. Nobody can take it from us. This is a fact. Seedlings of plant A are sensitive to direct. What the hell is this? Ah, really? Okay, so I'm going to pay attention on this screen. Okay, thank you very much. But the mystery is even higher. Why here, not here? Okay, hypothesis? Okay, seedlings of plant A are sensitive to direct exposure to sunlight. And here, because I'm focusing on the facilitation hypothesis, and if I am using this hypothesis and not the competition hypothesis, I probably have previous information from other studies showing that this plant A is really very sensitive to dehydration. Okay? This is why I am in favor of this hypothesis and not the competition hypothesis. Okay? And this might be, for instance, a fact based on the results of a previous study. In a previous study that follow the protocol that we as a scientific community accepted as valid. So this is a fact. And now I'm going to present you the assumption. And what's the assumption? It's something that we don't know it's a fact, but we think that is reasonable. And this is the fragile point of our hypothesis, because we don't know. We need to bet. I'm betting. Okay? Assuming that competition for soil nutrients with shrubs of plant B is not strong. Okay? It might be true. It's reasonable. It's really true. I don't know. I don't have any previous study showing this. So it is an assumption. Okay? Assumption, class assumption. And so please note that premise may be divided in two types: facts and assumptions. Okay? Assumption, use with parsimony. Okay. Based on this premise, my conclusion is seedlings under plant B will perform better than seedlings away from plant B. All right? These are my premise, two facts, one assumption, leading to a conclusion. which is the conclusion of my hypothesis. Okay? When we are writing, to be completely clear about the background of our hypothesis, all this information must be presented in the introduction. Okay? Okay. As I told you, not that some assumptions are facts. Shrubs provide shade, and seedlings of plant A are sensitive to direct exposure, while other are assumptions, which is the last one. As I told you, assumption is something that you accept as true, although you don't have any proof. Okay? And why? This is the weak point of your hypothesis. Suppose that your hypothesis is not supported by your data. Okay? You reject our hypothesis. The first thing you need to do is, oh my God, is my assumption okay? If somehow I conduct an experiment, a parallel experiment, and show that, no, in poor soil, competition is very, very strong. So my assumption is not true. So facilitation hypothesis makes no sense. So I must follow another path. Okay? The message for our lives: try to base your hypothesis in facts and be aware of your assumptions. Don't put a lot of assumptions in your hypothesis. The more assumptions you put in your hypothesis, the weaker your hypothesis. People say that you are building a castle on sand. Okay? Assumptions are key elements to build a hypothesis, but we need to pay attention on this. Okay. Now, okay, Mike.
Maybe this will be confused, but I think the assumption can be different hypothesis, and we can test.
Yes. It's a hypothesis that has not been tested yet. I am proposing something that might be true, but I don't know. Okay, hypotheses are assumptions. Sorry, assumptions are hypotheses. Not ours, okay? But there are many assumptions that are hypotheses. Okay, now we are going to follow a different rule. This rule is based on competition, the competition hypothesis. And the rule here is that it doesn't matter the way you wrote this. The more important is your rule must be related to competition. In this case, the way I wrote is seedlings of plant A perform worse when they are near a larger competitor. Why? Because when competition occurs, the best competitor will somehow decrease the performance of the weaker competitor, okay? You can write it in many different ways. Again, the cause we know, seedlings of plant A are growing under a shrub of plant B, and based on this rule and this cause, we deduce this. Thus, seedlings under plant B will perform worse than seedlings away from plant B. Okay? Completely different hypothesis. And again, if one is true, the other one cannot be true. And the structure is seedlings of plant A are not sensitive to exposure to sunlight. And why I'm saying this? Well, because I told you, another group of research made an investigation about the sensitivity to dehydration of these species. In this case, suppose that the result is not the plant A are very sensitive. Suppose that they reach another conclusion. And these plants are completely resistant to sunlight. Okay, now I have a different fact. Okay? And the soil is poor in nutrients. We know that. It's a fact. I told you this. And now I need to, now we need to present an assumption. Shrubs are better than seedlings at exploring nutrients. And it's nice because this group was presented a hypothesis based on facilitation. But they also mentioned the importance of the root system in competition. So if you are going to this path based on competition, we need to base our assumptions that the shrub is a better competitor. It's an assumption. I don't have any data. Is it reasonable for you? Why?
Because in the state of succession in an area, scrubs come first, so it will be probably a better compactor than seedling.
The root system is much larger. The roots can be deeper. There are a lot of possibilities that moreover, the root system of the larger one is spreading laterally and is below the root system of the small one. So these roots of the large one are intercepting the water before the water reaches the root system of the large one. So I can propose a lot of assumptions that I don't know if it's true, but it's reasonable. Okay, I can somehow defend this assumption in front of an audience. If I am presenting this work in a congress and someone at the end of the room say, my God, why this assumption? Where this assumption come from? Well, I can present some arguments in favor of my assumption. What you cannot do is to place an assumption here that you are not able to defend it. Okay? This guy at the end of the room will kill you and will kill your work. Okay? Okay, now we have another group activity and will be our last activity in the morning. Then we will talk about this activity after lunch. And you received a Word file called Manuscript 1. You ask you to read the text and to answer the questions that are presented after the test, okay? And if you have any doubt, please call me.
Exam after lunch.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay.
Change your plans.
Okay, no worries. E graças pela mensagem. You can answer the questions in your notebook, in the file, no worries. if you're not a biologist and there are some words or terms or expressions you cannot understand, you can consult your colleague or you can call me, okay?